Raven. The Jedi whose troops saved me on Taris. It was Raven, leading an army out to defeat the Mandalorians. It was you. You are nothing like the one who saved me on Taris. You are obviously not who I thought you were once upon a time. I thought you were the ideal Jedi. I thought you would never turn against us. Yet here you are. You did turn in the end. I did not want to believe it. But now, I suppose you have a chance to redeem yourself. You can work with us. For the Republic. For the Order. We can set right what you started so long ago. Yes, we shall. I only hope that you will see this through until the end. Time will tell what choices you make. I shall stay by you to see this task done. How may I be of assistance? What is it you would like to speak to me about? Well, I suppose I have not talked very much about the Jedi I met back home. They, all of them, were so very invigorating. They were so very alive, so full of hope and energy and zeal. In retrospect, I can see it was a little bit tragic. Well, yes. These Jedi were going to fight the Mandalorians just after they had invaded. Many of those Jedi perished in the fighting, but to us, they seemed invincible. Especially their leader, who they talked about all the time. Paragons of light and justice, sweeping away all iniquity before them. It was like looking at gods. I can only assume that that was some misguided attempt at humor. I was using poetic license. But those Jedi, they were enthralling. Everyone wanted just to touch them. Some people thought it would bring them luck. Not that the peace they brought lasted very long. The Jedi left. The people grew complacent. Those who had been wronged saw their chance at revenge. And so the cycle continues. The oppressed become the new generation of oppressors. The human oppressed, that is. The non-humans were never treated well in any case. We felt the brunt of both administrations. Of course it was. They took their frustrations and hate out on us because the people they wanted had already fled or were too well protected. But no one looks out for the injustices we suffered. Oh no, but I am sorry. I should not have outbursts like that. No, it is not. Anger can lead to the dark side, and I must be ever careful that I do not fall back into those ways. I thank you for your support. My outburst was uncalled for, but you did not lash back at me. You are a much better Jedi than I, it would seem. But let us not speak more of this now. We should continue on our journey. Perhaps later we will talk again. Yes. What is it? I have been bothered by something of late. I never told you where I came from, did I? Where I grew up as a child? I suppose I was trying to deny what I was feeling. I have been wrestling with my feelings inside, trying to come to terms with it, but I find I cannot. I must have someone to blame. Someone to blame for the destruction of my homeworld. Someone who is responsible for the death of everyone I have ever known, except those on Dantooine. Taris. It was Taris that the Sith destroyed to try to kill you and your precious Bastila. Taris, my homeworld. If it were not for you and Bastila, the Sith would have never had reason to destroy that world. It was your fault for being there, and your fault for rescuing Bastila. Without your intervention, the Sith would have had no cause to lay waste to my childhood. Just let me vent my anger. I need someone to blame. Something. Anything. I hated that world. Yet everything I learned as a child, I learned there. It is as much a part of me as the air I breathe. I have this ache inside me, where all my childhood memories lay, and I find your face there with them. If it was not for you, that world would still exist. I know. I suppose I realized that. But it is so hard to lose your entire past. You would not understand. Yes, I suppose it will. As long as we remain focused on our task, it will. I am sorry. I will try not to distract you in the future with my trivial experiences. We should stop for now. Yes. I was remembering Taris. No, it's all right. I think I am over the worst of it. I apologize again for lashing out at you. It was not your fault. It was a horrible place to have to live. At least in the lower cities where the non-humans tended to get relegated. Living for years in a place with no sun, living off the trash dropped from the upper levels, and the meager pay doing back-breaking labor. There was always the danger of raghouls coming up from the sewers, or more mundane predators living and working in the area. My family and I struggled each and every day to make something of our lives. But we could only go so far. Taxes from the corrupt government, more fees from the gangs controlling the streets, and whatever was left paying for what food and medical supplies we could afford. With no money to spare for any amenities, even the enclave on Dantooine seems a paradise in comparison. And of course, there was the constant bigotry and hate from the more affluent and human citizens, lording their wealth over us living below. Every once in a while, a rich human would come down through the lower levels with his droid entourage just to see how the wildlife lived, and laughed at the mockeries that were our successes. But I have come to meet many decent humans in my travels since those days. Indeed, some of the greatest people I have ever met are human. The Jedi who encouraged me to join the Order, the one who was with the group going to fight the Mandalorians, she was human. I suppose I see something of her in you when I look. I am sorry. I am getting away from my point, if there even was one. Sometimes I curse the day my parents fled to Taris, but then again, if they had not, I would not be where I am today. Another story for another time. For now, we must continue our own epic, to save the galaxy, if we can. How may I be of assistance to you, Padawan? What is it you would like to speak to me about? Well, I mentioned before that my parents had fled to Taris. Perhaps I can tell you about that. In the early days of the Mandalorian War, there had been fighting closer to the Outer Rim worlds. Kotor was there, yes. My people had a great reputation as warriors, and that appealed to the Mandalore version of honor. They sought to test themselves against us, I think. Test themselves by bombing our world, slaughtering my people while they slept or while they ran. They swooped down from space, across the world, firing at anything that moved. They used ships in space to destroy all orbital facilities and bombard the surface. We did resist, and in spite of their violent attack, we did stave them off for quite a while. But in the end, we were doomed. We were not members of the Republic. Kotor was beyond the edge of the Republic, in the Outer Rim. And besides, They could not have known. Our interstellar communications were the first things the Mandalores hit. All other short-range communicators were jammed. We were on our own. We knew what was coming. We had fought the Mandalorians in the first war against Exar Kun and the Sith. We knew there would be no mercy for us. The most we could do was pack the few of our people who survived onto what few ships remained and send them off into space as fast as they could. Most did not make it. My parents carried me as a baby with them and were lucky enough to escape. They fled as far as they were able and eventually settled on Taris. They could stand running no further, I think. But Taris was a horrible choice. Dominated by humans, intolerant of other species, it made everyday life unnecessarily hard. No, it is not. But they had little choice. Each of us dealt with it in our own way. My father turned to stimulants. He spent much of his time in local bars and dives. But we are warriors. It runs through our blood. And when he was on stims, he became foolish. He let his warrior nature get the best of him. So he would get intoxicated, and he would fight. And finally, one day, he would die. Killed by a man who provoked him into a fight and killed him like an animal. I am sorry. I cannot talk about this any longer right now. How may I be of assistance to you, Padawan? What is it you would like to speak to me about? I thank you for your concern, but I am still a bit shaken. I have been thinking about myself, about Kotor, and about my fall to the dark side. I keep thinking that it was my anger that drove me that far, that nearly damned me. I look inside myself now and I can still see it. I still feel it. More time would do me good. Time to distance myself from that anger. I think that is why the Council agreed to send me with you. They think, perhaps, that in your company, I will be able to free myself from it. I do not come here begging for scraps from you. I will earn my way with you. You will see just how valuable I am. How may I be of assistance to you, Padawan? What is it you would like to speak to me about? I have been thinking much about our journey, and I am grateful and honored that you have accepted me with you. It is an honor to be by your side, and to see you redeemed from the dark path you had chosen before. We Cathar do not make friends easily, or for long. Even on Dantooine I remained alone. Not ostracized exactly, but separate. In truth, I have lived in the Republic too long, and I know little. I never met any others of my race other than my parents. But we are not diplomats. We do not deal well with groups. This situation is new to me. It is warming. I feel almost welcome. Needed. You seem to be very decisive when it is required of you. It is reassuring to know that I can count on someone like you. To be accepted so readily, I find it difficult to explain. It is so different from what I'm used to. Just thank you for accepting me. How may I be of assistance to you, Padawan? What is it you would like to speak to me about? Of course. If there is anything